Hello, and welcome to Chaotic Creatives, the show about embracing the chaos that comes from living a creative life.
We're your hosts, two self-proclaimed chaotic creative gals. I'm Rachael Renee. I'm an artist and a creativity coach, and your internet hype gal.
And I am Lauren Hom, better known as Hom Sweet Hom on the internet. I am a designer, lettering artist, muralist, and chef. And welcome.
Welcome. Today, we're kind of talking about a few different topics that sort of create the Venn diagram of connection, I would say.
We've touched on all of these throughout the previous seasons, but in our planning, we were like, oh, this is the perfect thing because you just got back from a creative conference and you're feeling real energized.
Yeah.
And we've gotten questions over the last couple seasons about how to build community, how to network, how to meet your people. And you just got back from an experience like that. So we wanted to talk about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I went to Alt Summit, which it was their 10th year. And I think it started as kind of a place for bloggers to meet up and talk about that as an income stream and a career, because it was kind of, I did you do this? In college, I remember having all the blogs bookmarked, and I would look forward to each day I would go and I would read through Design Sponge or the wedding ones because I loved stationery. So I loved looking at the weird stationery that people did. Did you do that?
I did it a little bit. I read Taylor Lorenz's book. I think it's called Extremely Online, something like that, where it was about basically the history of internet culture and how we got to where we are today. And she talks about the blogging era as a really pivotal moment, especially for women making money on the internet, and how it was, again, people sharing their lives, usually focusing on one topic or just lifestyle, right? The concept of a lifestyle blogger
Totally.
Was born, and there was a lot of mommy bloggers too, and it was just people earnestly sharing, and then brands started creeping in and people started turning them into real lucrative businesses because wherever there are eyeballs, there's typically money. Bloggers were the ones who got the first wave of backlash against how dare you monetize or turn this into a business, which came for influencers later on social media. And I think it was just a really interesting, not too far back history of how we got to the internet culture that we have now. But that totally makes sense that they would start a in-person conference to talk about creating writing and posting photos on the internet. That makes a lot of sense to me.
A lot of people, we connected early even Instagram, not even considering the blog space, but, we found accounts that were really cool and we followed them and
they felt like friends.
Yeah. And so I love that they have created this conference and this is the 10th one, or maybe 10th year. They missed some years in there during COVID. But it was fantastic. I went by myself and I was kind of hyping myself up to be okay, you are going to wear that extrovert mask. And I'm a gabber. We know I'm a gabber.
What?
Especially, who, me? Especially with people I know and, get energized by. But at my day job conferences, historically, I kind of go to the session, I learn about the topic being presented. And then I'm okay, I'm going to use this opportunity to go back to my room and read a book. You came with me to a conference once and we just went back to the room and just, I don't know, did we get takeout? We hung out. You took a bath.
Yeah, I took a bath in the tub next to you in the bed.
Yeah, it was the tub wasn't in the bathroom. It was a honeymoon suite, but I was
it was a swinger suite. I don't know what that was. And it was at a water park. I don't know what. I'm so grateful that you brought me.
It was fun. It was fun. To have uninterrupted gab time on the drive there. Plus we went thrifting and found a bunch of great stuff. It was a great trip. But historically what I've done is kind of learn, chat with people at lunch. And then I'm okay, I'm out. And this conference, I was oh my gosh, these are my people. Because anytime, even from walking from my room to the elevator to go down to the lobby, someone would be in the elevator and we would start chatting and then we would walk and then we would sit and have breakfast together. And then other people would join the table, and it was just so warm and welcoming. There was no feeling of competition of ooh, sizing you up because, there's not enough money on the internet for me and you to do this. It was not that at all. There's so many people that incorporate play into their practices or their coaching or their offerings that I was just jazzed. And we've been texting and sharing resources. I have not shared my phone number this much ever. And I found myself being like, is it okay if can I give you my number? And then I'm like, this is like dating, but so much better.
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, in previous episodes, we've talked about how our best tips, instead of networking to meet other creatives, think about it like friend making, and approach people with curiosity and ask about them and, be genuinely interested in what they've got going on. And I think the beauty of a creative conference or a creative event is that the filtration process to get in there is like, hey, do you identify as a creative person or maker? I think that you all speak the same language already. So there's already like a shared point of connection.
Yes.
So I think that makes a lot of sense to me, and that's really great. And, when we first started talking about this, it's so easy in person to see someone's full humanity and how like, oh, well, you incorporate play into your messaging, but we're so different in all these other ways. And like, there is enough space for all of us, whereas when you are scrolling on your phone at 11 p.m. right before bed, feeling kind of down about your day, and you stumble across, let's say, the same person's Instagram profile for the first time, you're bringing your worst projections onto their profile, thinking like, oh no, this person does what I do, and you're judging them, and you're like, no, I have to like be better than them, and like she can't take this little sliver I've carved out for myself. And it's such a different perspective encountering someone online versus in person. And so we've talked about this before, but getting offline and trying to meet people in person is such a nourishing experience.
Yeah.
Necessary too.
Absolutely. And I think, I love what you said, because even today I was scrolling on Instagram and someone shared something with me that was about play. And I had this feeling of like, like I'm too late. I'm not doing it fast enough. I'm not implementing my ideas fast enough. And had that person shared that information with me in person, I would have been like, oh my God, I'm so jazzed for you.
Yeah.
Because of the human connection. I left feeling very inspired. And there were a lot of conversations about communities, like people who are starting hobby clubs. I met a friend who's, I'm calling them all friends. Like, I truly feel so connected to these women, and it rules.
It's like how you and I became fast friends.
Yeah.
Like we met on the internet.
Yeah.
8-9 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I was a fan. And I told that story because someone knew who you were or knew of you. Because someone introduced himself as a muralist. And I was like, my podcast co-host is a muralist because it's one of your titles. And I was like, do you know who this is? And she was like, oh yeah. And I was like, I met Lauren because I did hand lettering and I followed her and she seemed cool. And she and her partner were considering moving to Detroit. And I was like, can I take you out for coffee? And we chatted. And that's how we became friends. So I think putting in effort to build community outside of the internet is so nourishing, like you said. But there were so many people there who were working on different aspects of building in-person communities or online too. Like, my friend who I just mentioned, Haley, she created a hobby club where she sends out like a hobby prompt, maybe weekly. And then there's another gal, her name was also Rachael. I met a lot of Rachels, which is fun. But
anyone with your spelling?
No. And she's based in Atlanta, and she started doing creative meetups. And I think it's called Creative Spaghetti.
They eat spaghetti?
No, but it's like, oh shoot, I'm going to get it wrong. But basically, when I gave her my business card, which the bingo business cards were so well received, it made me so happy. Yay. People were so excited. And it made it easier for me to share my information. So instead of being like, here's my info, I was like, oh, I made an activity for us.
Something you're excited to talk about. Yeah.
But Rachael, her business card said like, create, play, grow. And my like messaging is play, grow, connect. So many just overlapping messages and people trying to grow communities. And so we thought we could talk about community today too.
Yay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really beautiful because if you to like take that like business card or leave behind example, if you saw that as someone's like, if that's your Instagram bio, right? And then you see it as someone else's Instagram bio, it might make you clench up being like, I'm not original, I'm not unique, like this person is like stepping into my territory. But in person, you're like, oh my gosh, me too. Like, this is so crazy that like we both have almost the same messaging. It almost feels like serendipitous.
Yeah.
Whereas online, you're just like, oh.
Yeah. And it was such a magical experience. And I think it's interesting to hear people talking about like building up in-person spaces again, not like from the conference organizer perspective, but from the other creatives that I was talking to.
Yeah, in smaller ways.
Yeah, just like trying to create an in-person community or an online community where people are craving connection. And by pursuing the things that jazz you up and finding other people who are also jazzed at that, that's like, it's an easy bridge to cross into connection, I think. So maybe we can segue into talking about like what folks can do to build connection, because we did talk about it a little bit in the Q&A episodes. One of them, I don't remember if it was the first or second.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. But someone was asking like how to build creative community around one particular craft. And before we started recording, you were talking about what you are interested in cultivating or joining when you move to New York.
Right. Yeah. Since I'm preparing for a move to a new city, well, a city I used to live in, and I still have...
For not a long time. I mean, not for a long time.
Yeah. It's been almost a decade since I lived in New York. And so even though I'm familiar with it, I have a core group of friends who I went to school with there. But it's like I'm going back at a different phase of my life. And so I've been journaling and noodling on, like I haven't publicly announced that I'm moving back to New York yet. I will have by the time that this episode comes out.
Yeah.
So this will be interesting to listen back to.
Yeah, I feel like I keep talking about it. So.
No, it's fine because by the time this comes out, it'll be announced.
Yeah.
And I've been really thinking about when I do publicly announce it, just you have to let people know what you're looking for. Like as part of a community, it's just part of the general creative community. People aren't mind readers. We talked about this in, I think, the creative advice as relationship advice, vice versa thing. But I want to let people know, like, hey, I'm moving back. Here are some things I'm interested in joining or doing or building when I come back. And like, does anybody have any, like, is anyone already doing these things, have any connections, or like is already facilitating this? So like, I'd love to volunteer at like a community garden or something like that, because after living in Michigan for a while, I got really into gardening. Everyone loves to garden here, which is amazing.
Not me.
There's and you've got the space too, which is such a shame. No, I'm kidding. Different strokes for different folks.
It is a shame. I try every year and I'm like, I don't like those.
It's fine. If I had picked a place to live that was closer to you, I would be using your garden.
Yeah, and I would love that. Yeah.
Yeah, or if I had just gotten a car.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. I would love to join like a dinner party circuit or supper club kind of thing. Any like craft clubs people have going on. I would love to connect with other freelancers who love to cook, because I think I mentioned in one of the previous episodes, I've been workshopping this idea that I need to actually do versus talk about. But I, as a freelancer, cook a lot during the day because I have like lulls in my like work week. I have a weird schedule, as most freelancers do. And so I would love to connect with other creative freelancers who want to cook during the day and hang out and, like, again, quote unquote, network that way, but just hang out and make a meal.
Yeah.
And freeze the leftovers for dinner when you have a deadline later on in the week or maybe next month. And we were talking about this because I was listening to a set from one of my favorite comedians who I've mentioned before on this podcast, Josh Johnson. And he was talking about how people oftentimes are mirrors to the kind of energy that you bring to them. So he was talking about this in the context of being neighborly and how people aren't as neighborly anymore. We don't know our neighbors. And he was saying that if you introduce yourself to your neighbors and let them know, like, hey, like, I'm here if you need anything, people will oftentimes do the same for you, but you have to be the first one to say, like, hey, I'm available. And I've been thinking a lot about that as someone who has like facilitated like creative challenges before and like built community in that way. I'm craving that in person. And, you know, I have a large online, I guess, following now. And I'm trying to figure out a way to use that, or like engage with that, but also take some of that offline. Like, I think that this podcast being born after like 9 years of friendship is really beautiful, even though we met on the internet.
Yeah.
Like, that's what internet connections are for the same reason that people go on dating apps, right? To like ultimately meet offline, hopefully.
Yeah.
I think those are where some of like the best connections come from. So I'm planning on like putting my like connection wish list out there when I move back to New York. And I think that oftentimes big life changes like a move are catalysts for putting yourself out there in this way. But for anyone who's listening, you don't need a big move to another city to post an Instagram story or reach out to your network or even just make a post saying or send an email out to whoever you might know, even if it's a handful of people saying, here's what I'm looking to do or connect with or build. Like, does anyone have any hookups or any, like, can anyone point me in any directions?
Yeah.
Like, I might be looking for a art studio to work in someday, a ceramic studio to take classes at. I just want to start sending out feelers. Like, maybe I'll need a commercial kitchen to prepare food in at some point. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I figured now is the time to get those things circulating for when I need them. Hi, you know how we're always yapping on this podcast about trying new things in your creative business? This episode is brought to you by one of my creative experiments, my mural mockups. You get 10 high-resolution Photoshop mockups with easy-to-edit smart objects, which in non-creative dork speak means that you can drag your drawing into the mockup and it'll instantly make your art look like a mural on a real wall. Pretty cool, right? Fun fact, Kristle, who you all know and love as the editor of this podcast, shot all of the photos for these mockups. So I love that. These mockups are perfect for muralists and aspiring muralists who want to shorten the time it takes them to add mural images to their portfolios and present their work to clients. You can head to homsweethom.com/mural-mockups or the link in the episode description to check them out. Okay, now back to the show. When I was younger, like I was at lunch today, I was talking with Kristle about how when I was 24, I did my Will Letter for Lunch project where I walked around New York handing out flyers to restaurants offering to do their chalkboard signs. And that was a way of like networking or getting my name out there that wasn't tied to the internet. And I made so many restaurant connections and got so many jobs just from that. And sometimes I forget now at 34 that like I still have that ability to do that. I've just like 10 years into my career, I've been coasting on the, I guess, compound interest of just people knowing who I am and like, I guess, putting in the work of building my business. But there's nothing stopping me from doing that again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a push of that would be nice.
Absolutely. And I think you being really clear on what types of communities you're looking for is very important. And I think that that's something that I would challenge anyone listening or watching to do is to make that wish list, even if you're not doing a big move, because it's, I think, easy to kind of fall into established routines. Especially as adults with limited free time. And it can feel maybe disheartening or draining if you're, okay, you know, you're with a group of people that go out to the bar and you don't drink. And you go because you have something to do because it's a social activity, but maybe that's not fulfilling to you.
Those aren't your people.
Yeah. And maybe they are in a certain capacity, but I can say that I have a lot of different groups of friends.
Yep.
And I feel like what I've talked about so many times on the podcast is like feeling over committed to my social calendar. And I think it's like, I'm not saying that you should stop hanging out with your friends. I'm saying that you should get really clear on the types of community that you would like to build. If you're like looking for new community, or just new ways to connect with the people that you already know. Like, is your habit with one certain friend to just go out to dinner every time, but you're like not really feeling that? Ask them to do a craft instead.
Yeah.
Like, hey, actually, I know we usually go out to dinner and that's how we connect, but can we do an activity instead? Can we go for a walk? Like, think about how you want to be spending your time. And that's why I talk about play so much, because when you're playing, you're like, oh, I'm really fulfilled doing this thing. And when we can identify what those things are for you, it's maybe cooking during the day, volunteering in the community garden, finding your version of play Mine is like, oh, I loved it when I played basketball with a group of people, even though I didn't really know any of them. It was really fun, but then it kind of got disbanded. Everybody got busy and I miss it. Or I'm trying to gather some people who might be interested in beginner knitting. But like, I don't need to start a knitting club. There are people who are already doing that. So I think it's a matter of, like you said, putting feelers out. There's a gal, Jenna, who took my Prioritize Play workshop, and she was sharing that like she was in a subreddit for her city, and she was like looking for ways to connect with other women in their 30s who were, wanting to do activities together. And she couldn't find one, so she created one. And now it's this big group of women who like pick an activity and meet up, and she's met some of her best friends through that program. So it's a little bit of like, look what's out there, because a lot of people are interested in doing a lot of the same things. Your people are out there. But if you can't find it, can you build something?
Yes.
Can you find a way to, even if it's like you host something at the library in a public space, like you don't have to put yourself out there and have it be so scary. Like maybe you can do some programming through another avenue. But I also wanted to mention, you were talking about the comedian Josh saying people mirror back to you what you present to them. And I saw something recently online where it was a woman talking very specifically, like articulating her process for making friends as an adult. And she like put it into a formula where it's like, you meet someone, you ask if they do come here often. And then if it's like your kid's playing at this park at this particular time and you meet another mom, and then you go back at that same time, is that same person there? Like you kind of like align routines. And then I haven't looked at this in a while, so this is like just from memory. But then she was like, once we do that a couple of times, I ask if they want to do something like tangential to what they were doing. Like, oh, do you want to have a play date with our kids? Or do you want to get lunch together? Or do you want to grab coffee and go for a walk on the way to the park?
Yeah.
So that it's an easy entry.
It's not like, do you want to go bowling all the way from going to the playground?
From like your daytime play. Yeah. So it's like easy entry, but it's expanding and having more one-on-one time. And then she says she brings them food, which I feel like is a very you thing to like make friends. Like, I made some cookies. Here's some cookies. And then she says she asks them for help because, like we were talking about before, people like helping. Like if someone has a problem and I can help them solve it, I love it. I love to solve a problem for people and like provide physical labor of like, yeah.
You heard that, folks. Rachel's available for manual labor.
You need me to help you put together, a bed? I would love to. I hate doing it alone for myself, but I will love to help someone else do it.
That is true. I did offer over the summer to help you put IKEA furniture together.
We put 5 dressers together, Lauren. That's a lot. And you helped me paint my bedroom.
I do love painting. I don't love building IKEA furniture, but I offered because I was like, hey, we were going to chat anyways. Like, let's get one of your chores done.
Yeah.
Like, I have hands.
Yeah. And I so appreciated it because it was an overwhelming task for me, but we got to like, I don't know, bullshit and talk about whatever we talked about. So asking for help is allowing someone else to feel like they can support you. And oftentimes it's like nobody wants to be the first one to ask for help. So by doing that, you're also showing vulnerability, which can allow for deeper connection. And I think that that's one of the things that I'm learning in my sort of recent dating experience is that a lot of people that I've been courting
Casanova.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot at once. But in the past few have said that I make it really easy for them to be vulnerable, which is important to me. I love talking about, the things that I'm working on. Personal growth is so important to me, but also deep connection is important to me. I don't want to just talk about the weather. I want to know like how you see yourself deep down or like what your dreamiest, biggest goals are for yourself. And so it's important to offer that vulnerability so that they can mirror it back to you. And then that allows for a deeper connection. And then also like, if you do all of that and then you're like, ooh, I don't actually think you're my people. That's okay too. You can decide kind of like what level of friendship you want with people. But I think ultimately all of this boils down to building community in spaces that feel very natural and inspiring or fulfilling for you to be in. Because if I joined a volunteer garden club, I would not want to go. I would feel resistance every time I like signed up for a shift. And I probably wouldn't be connecting with people as much as I would be connecting with someone on the basketball court.
Because you're not in a space that's making you feel like your most like alive self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's not the like most authentic version of me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess to make it a call to action to the listeners, you know, ask yourself the questions of like, what do I like doing?
Yeah.
And that's why I make the seasonal playlist. It's like, let me try a bunch of stuff because you don't know until you try, and then write it down and be honest with yourself, and then see if you can try to seek out those spaces.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to creating like connection, letting people know like, hey, I like doing this activity. Like, does anyone else want to do this activity too? Like, I think creative activities are like ripe for the picking when it comes to this, because oftentimes art stuff is done in isolation, like, and for good reason. You need to focus. You're like deep in thought. You're like, sometimes you're using like tools that could actually hurt you if you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
Like there's a real like beauty to getting into the zone alone. Like sometimes when you can't get into a flow state when you're gabbing. It's a different thing.
It is.
And so we're not saying to replace like solitude and flow state with like people around all the time. Like I think most creative people I know like their introverted time.
Yeah.
However, I think art making is oftentimes, because it's done in isolation so often, we get, like you said, as adults, get used to a routine. In order to connect with more people who are obsessed with the things you're obsessed about, you need to find a way to do that with other people. And so whether it's going to an art show about the thing that you like, or it's making the thing, some crafts and some art forms are harder to make together, I'm sure. Or like ceramics, right? Going to a studio, signing up for a class. I know that might cost money, but I think that figuring out ways where you can, if you like doing it alone and you want to connect with other people who like to do that thing, yes, you could go on an online forum or connect that way, or in the YouTube comments of ceramics videos or whatnot. But trying to get together in person will make you feel a lot more tapped in, especially with your local community. And even knowing just one person who does the creative thing that you do or like to do will likely open the door to like, they have to know one other person too. And I think that building a solid creative network happens slowly over time. Like nothing happens overnight.
Yeah.
And like you were saying too, not everyone's going to be like a 10 out of 10 match. You're not going to start a podcast with everybody that you meet, and that's okay too.
Yeah. Ooh, that was top tier friendship ranking. Thank you.
Yeah. And the call to action is just figure out what you like to do and try to find other people to do it with, invite other people to do it with you, even if it's just small. Can you get your roommates together to do a craft night? Can you get your coworkers together? Can you get your, building together for a community craft night? Like community can be tiny as 2 or 3 people, and it can be as large as like a whole city. It is really up to you.
Yeah. And then I think once you establish those relationships, like use them, don't let it be just like, oh, that's just my friend that I do crafts with once a month. It's like,
it's the inroad. Yeah.
Yes,
Connecting over the creative stuff, I think, is a really strong bond, similar to the experience you had at Alt Summit, where it's like, oh my gosh, we already have so much in common. Having that strong bond of connecting over a creative thing will allow you, oftentimes, it's a stronger bridge, I think, to other things. And it reminds me, I've referenced this book before, but it's very relevant to the conversation we're having now. The Art of Gathering by Priya Parker, I believe. She talks about how to host successful gatherings, basically, and the small elements that make things feel like what makes a good meeting or event or dinner party, like versus like one that's kind of like, people didn't have that great of a time, they didn't really connect. And one thing she really drives home is specificity of who this event is for and who it's not for. And she actually says, which is a tough pill for me to swallow as someone who finds herself gravitating towards like inclusivity, everyone is welcome. Like, and it's true, everyone is creative. However, in the context of, let's say, a creative gathering, you will likely create more connection if you are very specific about what kind of creative gathering this is. Is this a craft night for night owls? Like, you're going to get a specific type of person. You're not going to get
I will not be there.
I know. You will not be there. And that's maybe you and I would meet at a different event and still become great friends.
Mm-hmm.
Is this for professionals? Is it for hobbyists? Like, the more you curate the group, like the more tightly curated it is, the better connection, even though it's going to be a smaller group more likely, the stronger the connections will likely be because the filtration system you've set up for people to even show up or to want to show up, even if it's a free event, let's say, is going to allow for people when they walk through that door to be like, oh, everyone kind of like meets these kind of criteria and like these are more likely to be my people.
Man, that is related also to dating.
Yes.
Because the more specific you can be about
upfront
what we're looking for, it weeds people out faster that aren't a right fit. Whereas like the people pleaser, the inclusive person inside me wants to be like, I want to give everyone a chance. Like, I can look past these things that I actually don't want about this person because I want to be nice, but actually being kind is more important, which is like letting them down and not letting them get attached and being kinder to myself. And sometimes kind has hard conversations associated with it, where nice is people pleasing. I'm trying to have that differentiation, not just with dating, but in general. Like, I think and we've talked about this with just creating our work too, the more that we can lean into being very specifically ourselves, authentically, it might not be for everyone, but none of us are for everyone. And so why would you create a 100-person dinner when you have to manage all of these personalities and do this and this and this, instead of creating a very specific guest list? And that's not to say that like you won't have a different set of guests at another party. I feel like I've had that challenge of like, oh, I want to have, a girls' night, but I have a lot of friends, and I'm like, am I ranking my friends now? It's like, just invite who naturally like feels good to invite. And like, if someone has hurt feelings, like we can address that if that comes up. It probably won't. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay. Absolutely.
This episode is brought to you by me, Rachael Renee, your creativity coach. Did you know that I offer one-on-one sessions? One of my favorite things is to help my fellow chaotic creatives gain a little bit of clarity in their creative practices and their lives. So you can book a session today. We can develop or refine your creative project idea. We can clarify your creative goals. We can map out what your big, juicy life looks like. Or we can build a system for prioritizing play and making it easy for you to incorporate. If you'd like to book a session, you can visit rachaelrenee.com. That's RACHAELRENAE.com/coaching.
She talks about like setting parameters for your event. Like, even, I mean, you would appreciate this, even if it's something like there's a dress code. Like you have to wear a certain color or a certain accessory. Or if it's like everyone has to bring a certain like food item, or there's just a certain theme. And she says that like the more you stick to those things, the more like sacred the event becomes too, and the more like jazz people tend to get about it. Yeah. Think about how excited people get about a Halloween party because of the tight parameters of like, you're going to wear a costume, there's going to be like a spooky little punch with like the what is it? The spooky mist.
Spooky mist. Yeah.
I'm trying to speak your language right now.
Yeah.
There's going to be like something shaped like an eyeball.
Totally. Yeah. Dry ice is.
Lauren's going to show up on your doorstep a day before.
My favorite.
I'm saying this because I showed up to Rachel's Halloween party the day before one time, already fully dressed.
Yeah.
Rachel like texts me. She's like, I can see you on my Ring camera.
It's tomorrow. I was at a different party.
Whoops.
And that was a sweet story that we can tell forever.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the tight parameters. Also, just thinking about like by making those tight parameters, we're also like leveling up the type of experience that people are having.
Yes, it's a kindness to your guests, she says. By actually saying who this is not for, you are protecting who it is for. And so this isn't something from the book, but like I've heard this phrase before, that clarity is kindness. And it speaks to the people-pleasing thing you were saying of like knowing what you want, saying what, like yes or no versus like, maybe like you even did this for me, which I loved one time. This was maybe a couple weeks ago where you asked if we could record early. And I started to do that thing where I was like, and you were like, that sounds like a no. And I was like, uh-huh. And that was helpful.
I remember doing that.
Yeah. It was so helpful. Like you basically gave me permission to say no. Cause I was like, well, maybe I could move some things around.
Yeah. And I also like want to have the types of relationships where my friends are comfortable saying no to me. Because I would rather it be like both of us showing up fully for each other instead of like
performing a version of yourself that you think is agreeable.
Yeah. I love that. But back to like the type of party, like I love to host, don't love to cook, as you know. Love to have an experience, you know, whether it's like a little gift basket.
Yeah, place cards, place settings, tablescape.
Exactly. Like that's really fun for me. And I think what I enjoy about the hosting of a party is getting to make that experience magical. And I'm trying to do that in my everyday life as well. Like, there's no reason that I can't have a cute tablescape for every day. I can use my fancy glasses when I'm drinking water at lunchtime and like reading my book. Like, giving people an opportunity to see like, oh my gosh, it's not even a Halloween party. This is just like a backyard dinner party. But like, look how fun. We're eating hot dogs, but like I'm having the best time because of the attention to detail and intention behind the party and the gathering. And I want to carry that sort of mentality throughout my life. Just being very intentional, focusing on connection. Yeah.
You're a great hostess, by the way.
Thank you so much. Thank you. The last party I hosted was a doozy. that
was based on a life circumstance.
Yes.
So.
But I still had fun.
Hey, and I guess it kind of inspired the first episode of this season.
It did. Yes. I was in a depressive episode. And I got Kristle's gift exchange gift and I've been playing it. It's fun. So that was great. And poor Lauren got my gift exchange gift. She's not a hat or hair accessory person. My like gift that I gave everybody was hair clips. She's not a stuff person. Not really a bag person. And I think there were 2 bags and some socks in there. Just like literally nothing that she would use. It was a
hilarious gift because it was a bag which I gave to Kristle. So it got put to good use. A pair of socks that I was already influencer gifted.
Yeah.
I'm sure they reached out to you too.
You asked me that and I wasn't gifted that pair, but I had purchased from them.
Okay.
And those were one of them. And then they gifted me another pair, like a roughly sheer kind of pair. Yeah, so you already had received the socks.
I mean, I like the socks.
Yeah.
The best part of that gift for me was the little scrubby pad for my dishes.
Oh, okay, good. So there's one thing that you can use. Good.
A dish scrubby pad.
It was sparkly. Yeah, it's also really funny to see like what people fought over, which was like my friend Katie brought
a Great Jones like ceramic bakeware, like 8x8 pan. So cute.
Yeah, that was good.
And technically like over the limit, but she said she got it on sale. So like,
yeah, how does that play into like the rules? Like, because everyone, like if you bought an iPad
sneaky
on sale, everyone's going to want the iPad versus the $20
We'll let it slide. I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know.
She really got a lot of joy out of it being the like sought after gift. So I love that for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
Okay.
And I got a dish scrubby.
And
Kristle, what did you get?
Yeah.
Tea. It was like a nice tin of tea, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I used to think that gifts like that were silly until I changed my mind maybe in my late 20s because I realized, actually, shout out to my ex, Tom. He actually reframed this for me because you know me, I'm not a stuff person.
Yeah.
And like, again, the people who know you best and love you can kind of mirror things back at you. Because I'm such like a practical, like only if I need it, like a very utility person because I just grew up around my like frugal grandma. 1 year for, I think, the holidays, he gave me a like gift card to the grocery store. And I was like, what is this for? And he was like, I want you to spend this on all the things that you never buy on a weekly basis.
That's very sweet. I was like, that's not a very good gift. but with the explanation it is.
Yeah. He's like, buy the $12 hot sauce, like buy the like organic, like whatever, like fruit, like you are such like a practical shopper. And so that actually, I was like, oh, that's actually a really good point.
Did you do it?
I did.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's actually how I discovered.
Because I could see you being like, or I could get more groceries.
Could get 8 pounds of clementines on sale. I'm kidding.
After we had a discussion recently, I bought vanilla bean paste after we talked about it.
I think Kristle needs to be a vanilla bean paste influencer. Actually, I would love to become a vanilla bean paste. Nielsen Matthew
vanilla bean paste
influencer.
Just that, not any brand, just vanilla bean paste, the product.
That's my vertical.
But also, I haven't used it because I'm like, I'm scared.
Oh my God. When Kristle gifted me a jar of it, and it took me so long to start using it because I was using like store brand vanilla extract.
Yeah.
Because I took one of Christina Tosi's online baking classes, and her baking philosophy is that she comes from like a Midwestern, like very salt of the earth Americana baking. She's like, it doesn't really matter that much the quality of your vanilla. You just want, because there's like that like grandma's baked good, like artificial vanilla taste that she likes, like a store-bought sugar cookie. Think about that.
Yep.
Love
those.
I know other chefs who talk about like good vanilla. Ina Garten talks about good vanilla, and Kristle swears by good vanilla, and I trust Kristle's taste. And so, but because I know how nice of a product it is, it took me a while to start using it. But once you break the seal and start using it, it'll be okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's nice. And you
I
get
think
little
I
flecks.
might make some ice cream with it.
So I was reading up on it.
Or should I not use ice
for
cream?
preparations where like there's going to be less heat applied. It's actually even better when there's vanilla bean in it. Yeah.
Cool. Lauren gave me her ice cream maker last
and I
year,
love that
2
you
years
use
ago.
it so much.
Oh, I use it all the time.
That makes me so happy.
Yeah. My guts, on the other hand, don't love that I'm consuming so much heavy cream and full whole milk dairy. But
you do like a coconut milk version. It's not going to be the same, I know.
No. Okay, let's wrap up with the session that we abandoned for a bit, but are bringing back. What are you working on right now that you're jazzed about?
I am simultaneously jazzed and a little bit sad because it's a like closing of a chapter, but I am excited to be repainting the apartment.
Right? Because you're leaving and you can't leave murals galore.
Yeah, so just painting the apartment. I think it's going to be like a peachy orange color or maybe a blue. I have some colors picked out to swatch this weekend, so I'm really excited.
Yay.
Yeah. Actually, I think I might have them swatched the next time you come in. So you'll see them on Friday.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
What about you? What are you working on that you're excited about?
Oh man, I feel so inspired after that conference.
I bet. You're like bursting at the seams.
Truly, like one of the nights, and every night I was like, oh, I'm going to go to bed early because I'm still on East Coast time and it's like very late and I'm tired. But then I would like be walking back to the elevator and start chatting with someone, and then we would stand in the lobby for an hour, and it was awesome. I loved it. And a couple of times I went out to eat with people. But one of the nights I had leftover pizza because I had gone to an Italian restaurant, and I was like, I'm just going to eat the leftover pizza. I don't want to waste it. Also, like, I've been really doing a lot of chatting. I should just chill. Ate the pizza, and it was the last night before I was leaving, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sad to be leaving. And also, I really wanted to explore Palm Springs a lot more, but I just didn't because I was so engaged in what was happening there. But I did like a big Notion brain dump of like a ton of ideas. So I'm excited to I'm still processing and kind of organizing my ideas. But as far as what I would like to get done, I want to go to the ceramic studio on Saturday. I don't have any real plans, I'm maybe going to sell my motorcycle. I'm trying to do that. But other than that, I want to just go play. It's been a long time since I've had like a full day with no plans. And I'm really doing a lot of side quests in my answer to this question, but
it's fine. You've got a lot going on. Like, we're going to move this big ass table this weekend.
Yeah, we're doing it. I'm so excited.
We're doing like a friend stuff exchange.
Stuff exchange, yeah.
Things that I need and things that you need. You're getting my big art table that you're going to use for quilting. And I'm going to maybe get like a rug or some home decor for my new apartment in New York.
Yeah.
Yay.
Really excited. Lauren's inspired me to get rid of some of the stuff that's not serving you anymore. And I think that actually, just to kind of like wrap it up full circle and reconnect with like the community and the discussion about
thank you,
what you're interested in, those interests can change. Like when I don't know, graduated college, I was like really obsessed with being a motorcycle person. And I got a motorcycle. I took the training course. I rode it. I upgraded to a bigger bike. And I rode it, and I love the feeling and the freedom of riding a motorcycle, driving a motorcycle. But I injured myself last two summers ago and didn't really ride it that much. And then last summer, I just never really pulled it out. And it wasn't really like causing any harm by just sitting in the garage, but I was like, this isn't actually serving me anymore, and someone else can get some use out of it. It's okay that my sort of identity has shifted from like, I want to be a cool motorcycle girl. And now I'm like, I know how to ride a motorcycle and I know that I enjoy it, but I enjoy other things more. And I think that the more that we can kind of refine and it's like you said, clarity is kindness. Like instead of trying to spread myself so thin to all these different hobbies that sure I can have fun at, and really focusing on the ones that are the most fulfilling to me, I feel like I'm going to get the most out of my life in that way. So selling the motorcycle, and organizing the basement so I can get that table. So setting up my quilting area, doing some ceramics play.
Yeah.
Jazzed about all the stuff.
Very exciting.
And the weather's so nice. So I'm just like excited to go for walks. Okay.
Great.
Well, great episode.
Yeah, I love that. I'm feeling very energized, and I'm feeling so energized that I can do our Patreon plug.
Great, because I forgot.
If you enjoyed this episode, if you've been enjoying this podcast, we would love it if you could support us on Patreon. It's patreon.com/chaoticcreatives. If you can't, totally fine. You can share this episode with a friend who is looking to connect with other creative people. If you have a friend who's been like, man, I really want to meet other creatives and has said it maybe a couple of times but hasn't really done anything about it, send them this episode. Maybe it'll strike a chord with them. And if you want to join the Patreon, we have a couple tiers where we have some bonus content. Maybe we'll do some Q&As. And then we have our mega tier where it's listener supported ads where we can shout out your projects. So you can head to the show notes to see all the links to that.
Yeah. And also one other way to support us for free is to give us a rating and a review.
Yes, please.
On the podcast platform or on YouTube. And we would really appreciate that.
We think of us like your Uber drivers. Give us 5 stars.
5 stars, please. See you next time.
Bye.